Tech-savvy people of Reddit, what is a computer tip you are sure most haven't heard of? If you like to play games with a controller on another monitor, you can move the screen to different monitors using Shift plus Windows plus left or right arrow. I found this useful for games that don't allow monitor selection since you'd normally have to change your primary display. This is the sort of tech tip I came here for. If you constantly swap between accounts for the same service, for example, Google, Microsoft, some browsers let you set up profiles, Edge, Chrome, etc. For example, you might use Google for work and personal use and it's a pain because it'll default to one account every time. If you set up two browser profiles you can keep them separate and both signed in. Firefox container tabs are great for this. Basically the same thing, and they're color coded in the tab bar. This one is simple, but holding the shift key in combination with other keys will often reverse the action of the other key. For example, spacebar on a web page scrolls down, shift plus spacebar scrolls up, tab on a web form will move the cursor forward to the next element in the form, shift plus tab moves you backward. Wow, I didn't know about that. I knew shift tab but I didn't realize it was because of that. It is usually a waste of time hitting the backspace key more than 2 or 3 times. Using Control and backspace you delete the whole word. Control plus Shift plus V pastes whatever you have on your clipboard with all formatting removed, except in the Office suite, because Microsoft says frick you and makes you use that stupid pop-up paste menu. Win key and V keeps a history of all your recent text copies. So if you selected copy on multiple items you can choose which one to paste without having to go back to wherever you copied a word or phrase from. Win key and Shift plus S is great for taking screenshots of the whole screen or parts of the screen. Some more Win key fun, some folks don't know. Win key and D navigates or hides the desktop. Win key and E opens up the file explorer. Win key and X opens a dialog where you can choose different settings. Win key and tab gives a nice overview of all different open apps to navigate through, and many more. Control and Windows key and D only works for W10. This will create a new desktop. You can switch between desktops using Control and Windows key and right left arrow. To close those extra desktops you just made, Control and Windows key and F4. It'll move any programs you have open. Grabbing a program and shaking it will minimize every other program. Shaking it again will maximize them backup. Grabbing a program and shaking it will minimize every other program. Shaking it again will maximize them backup. OMG. This has been happening to me unexpectedly and was often a pain since I have a lot of windows up on my monitor at once and have to manually click each one to bring it up. I had no clue why this was happening. Thank you so much. If you work in healthcare you really need to know that Win plus L immediately locks your computer. Useful for keeping eyes off patient data. Goddamn. I do this every day after everyone leaves. They just leave stations open. They auto lock after an hour but I'm paranoid. And our login is super easy. And my name is the only name in the system of a huge company. Like how is a 3-letter name the only one on a cloud system? Like Tom but not. UK keyboard configuration maybe? I was messing about a while ago to see what each Win plus thing was and the emoji window came up from. Then a while after a colleague was saying I really want to add a laughing smiley and I said to press Win plus, and they thought I was some sort of tech genius just from that. Deleting something doesn't magically make it disappear. If you delete something by mistake, it is fairly easy to recover it using specialized software. If you want something gone, you have to rewrite the sector multiple times. Yup, deleting a file basically removes it from being referenced. Someone check me on this. The data is still there, and goes away when it's written over. Recover works pretty well for recovering stuff in my experience. Control plus Shift plus T will reopen any closed tabs. Windows key and will open the emoji panel if you feel the need to add some into whatever you're doing on a Windows 10 PC. I thought emojis was Win plus. Google is your friend. Any problem you have, look for a solution on Google before paying a professional. Half the time that's what they do. I'm professional. This is exactly what I do. If at some point you are held at gunpoint and somebody says now, Copy paste text without using the mouse or using the C, X, or V keys. You can use Shift Delete, Control Insert, and Shift Insert as cut, copy, and paste respectively. I'll take my chances by not committing this to memory. Got a couple here. Always at least take a look at the custom options when installing a program. Never know if that installer is trying to sneak a potentially unwanted program in. With how often it resolves issues. Turn it off and back on again. Yeah, everyone's heard of it, but seriously try this before calling support. More useful is, as mentioned by others, Control plus Shift plus ESC opens Task Manager. What I isn't mentioned is that it should work even if Explorer Eggs is unresponsive. Use the always on top feature to make sure it never gets hidden by an unresponsive window. Always at least take a look at the custom options. I always do that even when installing Nvidia or AMD drivers. You never know. Use the always on top feature. I didn't know this existed. It's gonna be incredibly useful. Thank you for this. Shut down your PC automatically after X amount of time. Open command prompt Windows key and R. Then type cmd eggs. Type shutdown ST3600. Your PC will now shut down after 1 hour. 3600 seconds equals 1 hour. To cancel the automatic shutdown, type shutdown A. Of course this works with any amount of seconds. No shady program like you often find people use needed to shut down your PC. It's all built into Windows. When cleaning your PC, do not use vacuum cleaner. Use compressed air cans. Static electricity produced by vacuum suction through plastic tube could kill your motherboard and everything else with it. Also, fun fact, if you decide to exchange some components inside your PC after turning it off, remove power cable and then push power button a few times. That will discharge any powered capacitors inside so you won't short anything during your job. Did not know about the second one. Thanks. Control and backspace delete. Deletes whole words. Control and arrow keys. Moves cursor whole words. Shift and Control and arrow keys. Selects whole words. Shift and arrow keys. Select single letters. Auto hotkey is great. Doesn't take much to make useful scripts. Personally mostly use them in games. Like for example recently in RimWorld, there is no option to use thumb buttons on the mouse. So I made a script for that. Frequently when trading I've needed to spam clicks. Same thing. Script for that. Makes some things a lot more convenient. In Notepad++, if you press Alt you can select multiple lines with your mouse. Click and drag, but only the columns you select get highlighted instead of the whole lines. Also works in Visual Studio and Adobe Acrobat. Really useful if you have tables in a PDF that you need to get into a spreadsheet. If you open links in a new tab, CTRL+ click, it simplifies navigation. Ctrl+W closes that window when you are done, leaving you with the previous page that you clicked the link still open. You can also middle click links to open them in a new tab, and middle click on tabs to close them. You can easily recover deleted files if they weren't overwritten, especially if it's on a USB or a low storage device. I use an app called Disk Digger. On the Windows taskbar, create a new toolbar and point it to this PC, my computer, whatever it's named for you. Drag it all the way to the left and shrink it as small as you can before you lock the taskbar again. Now by clubbing the little arrow that shows up, you can browse all your drive-through menus without having to open a single window. I've been doing this since Windows XP. Thanks. This is the best one here, and at least by commenting I'll be able to find it again on Monday and actually make use of something here. Edit, and if I can share something useful in return, Shift F3 converts highlighted text from uppercase to lowercase and vice versa, in Ms. Office anyway. There is a built-in Windows program for multiple screen capture and transcript called Step Recorder. Every time you click the screen it takes a screenshot. It can be paused. Once completed it creates a multimedia HTML file with all the session screenshots and a transcript on every Windows control clicked or keyboard entry. If you have bought or built a new PC but have difficulties running your favorite games at high FPS even though you have everything plugged in correctly, try swapping your HDMI cable to the GPU HDMI out and not the unbound motherboard HDMI out. Some dude played several years on integrated graphics and complained that his games ran at such an average speed even though he paid a good amount of money on his GPU. That tech support people absolutely hate people who use the line "I'm not a computer person" as an excuse for refusing to learn basic operation of a PC. Turn your PC off and on. How do you do that? Open a web browser. What's that? Person takes 5 seconds to report that they've turned their PC off and on. Sir, you turned the monitor off and on. My PC is slow. We need to close most or all of these 50 tabs you have open. No, I need those to work. Tech bangs head on desk. People that work from home remotely, if you want your PC to be as stable as possible, don't lock your PC at the end of the day, shut it down instead. That way the next day when you boot up your PC syncs with the network server and applies whatever little tweaks going on by network administration. Disk cleanup. Use the services panel to turn off crap you don't need. Run msconfig to disable startup programs you don't want to auto-load. Type %appdata% into the file explorer bar to search for junk that's been left behind by programs. Any pro Minecrafter knows %appdata%. This is actually mildly infuriating. On a Mac, the Alt option key will often bring up hidden features. For example, bring up a menu on your browser right now, and then hit the key. Some new options will appear. There is no indication anywhere that this is available, and if it's documented anywhere, I've never seen it. I only know about it because I worked for Apple for 3 years. So to take advantage of it, you just have to get into the habit of hitting everywhere to see if it does anything. Apple seems to have this weird philosophy where they acknowledge that power users need access to certain features, but they don't want normal users stumbling upon these features, so they hide them away and don't tell you they exist. But if you Google just the right questions, then you can find out the arcane and undocumented way of doing it from some unofficial source. Taking online classes, 90% of the questions are reused from somewhere. Copy paste, Ctrl+C Ctrl+V, the question into Google and look for the exact questions on Quizlet. Once you're on the Quizlet, Ctrl+F to open a search box and type the keywords in. You'll probably end up with a few different tabs open, but you can usually find all the answers across 2-4 of them. Go forth and get that degree. The computer has a power button, which you have to press to turn it on. I work in IT right now, and many people don't know this incredible tip. Shutting down is not the same as restarting. I have to try to explain this to my family all the time. Windows Task Manager, Ctrl+Alt+Del thingy, has an always visible on top option. Turn it on before it's too late and thank me when the time comes. For iPhone users, if you are having trouble trying to press between words or letters to fix a mistake in something you typed out, hold the space bar down and it turns into a mouse cursor that helps you easily navigate to what you are trying to change. A little niche, but regarding modular power supplies, cables pinouts are not standard between brands, or even within the same brand and between models. One 6-pin cable for a SU and ERN tags necessarily work in another 6-pin slot. Found out this the hard way. If you are building a PC, do not cheap out on fans. Cooling issues are why most computers suffer intense wear and tear. A good heat flow setup will ensure your PC doesn't degrade nearly as fast. My 7-year-old baby has no issues because of this. Runs games exactly as it always has. Use multiple browsers. Don't think that using the best one is the only option. Have one for official crap, another for spammy crap, and maybe other one for dodgy crap. If your mouse has a middle or wheel click, you can click links with that to open them in a new tab. If you middle click a tab, it will close the tab. Don't be afraid to ask for help. It's sometimes annoying to constantly be called on by friends and family as the sole tech-savvy person in my area that everyone knows. However, it is infinitely better to catch a small problem as it begins before it balloons into a much larger one by enthusiastic, but inept, self-help. Pro tip: Google is your tech-savvy contact's best friend, but it's easy for a less knowledgeable person to get in over their head. Use a password manager. No, your system of remembering passwords is not safe, no matter what you think. No, you do care, or rather potentially have a big problem, if that one important website leaks your credentials. Stop making up passwords and stop making up excuses to do so. Start using a password manager today. Put your Reddit account in it first, and from now on every time you log into a website that isn't in your password manager already, admit, you will be way more secure online than you ever have been, and having a list of all the accounts you have can actually be very helpful. Make sure you back up your data. One day your computer will be broken and all your data will be gone. This is a when, not an if. Prepare for that now. Android tip rather than a computer tip for an easy Wi-Fi login. When a friend needs to sign into your Wi-Fi or the Wi-Fi you are on, go into your Wi-Fi and select it. A QR code pops up. Anyone can scan this and log in without needing a password. As a teacher, we have a testing program that won't load unless all browsers are closed. We use Chrome and Chrome likes to hang around in the background, even if all the windows are closed. We don't have access to Task Manager either, but if you go to the search bar in the start menu, you can type TASKILL Chrome eggs. This will kill every instance of Chrome in the background. It's also great for those programs that won't close out when ntask in Task Manager doesn't work. You just need to know what the Dart egg's name is. In Task Manager, right click on the header row and choose process name. That'll show a new column and reveal the name you have to use. If there are spaces, you need to put it in quotes. TASKILL Creative Cloud Eggs. WinRAR opens the run menu, which I think a lot of people know. What I don't think everyone is aware of is that if you add a file or shortcut to your Windows folder, most often see Windows, you can open it from the run menu by typing its name. This lets you run applications, open commonly accessed files and folders, etc. really quickly while letting you keep your hands on the keys instead of moving back and forth to the mouse. On a similar note, you can navigate all Windows Explorer windows, including the desktop, using just the keyboard. Typing a file folder's name will select it. The arrow keys can select different items relative to the currently selected one. Enter can open the selected item. We all know this. But did you know Ctrl plus Shift plus F10 lets you open the context menu? Right click. Further, once the context menu is open, there will generally be a letter underlined in the name of each available action. Pressing the associated key will allow you to quickly select that action. As a result, you can, for example, rename files quickly by selecting it in Windows Explorer, then typing Ctrl plus Shift plus F10, then pressing M, it's M in my case at least. But you can have different things in your context menu that change what letters are what. Then pressing enter, and never take your hands off the keyboard again, can save tons of time with a bit of practice. When there is an annoying pop-up that is taking control over your screen and you can't minimize it, Win+D will force the desktop to show no matter what, and instantly too. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.